I'm a mom of four, and I always get asked about the transition from one kid to two or from two to three, etc. And this is what I have to say. The age gap is what makes all the difference. It is all based on that age gap because the transition is going to look so different. If you are welcoming two under two, your transition is going to feel a little bit more brutal maybe than somebody who has a 5-year-old and they're welcoming a new baby. Those are different transitions. I think that makes all of the difference when we have this conversation, and it's important to talk about because it's not about the number of kids, it's really about their ages at the time that the new baby enters the family. And so I know for me, I never went from 1 to 2. We went from 0 to 2 kids very quickly, and they were toddlers because they came to us through foster care. But we did go from 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4, and this is what I'll say. 2 to 3 was hard because we had a newborn baby, we had a 2.5-year-old, and we had a 3.5-year-old. And if you know anything about toddlers, they are hard, and teenagers are harder sometimes. And so that was a lot of adjustments. We had a lot of potty training regressions. We had a lot of behavior regressions. It was just a difficult time. But when we welcomed our fourth baby, the only kid that really struggled was our then 18-month-old because she was first seeing me with a baby and she wasn't the baby anymore, right? That was hard for her to reconcile. My 5-year-old and my 4-year-old, they were now helpers. They now knew what to expect. They knew what a baby was. They knew what it meant for mommy to have a baby. They knew how we were going to feed the baby. They knew what the baby needed. And while I didn't expect them to actually, help, they were able to feel involved in the process in the way an 18-month-old baby is really not able to feel that. So when people ask me about the transition, I often try to add that kind of asterisk to the conversation, which is this is going to look different for every family based on the age gap and based on how many kids you have. Obviously, the more kids you have, the more older kids you'll have. And the older the kid, the easier it is. I had a lot of kids like close together. I have a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 18-month-old or 20-month-old now. Whereas my sister spaced her kids out. They're all 3 years apart. And so that makes a big difference. That even makes a difference in their fighting, right? Like my 2 older kids fight like nonstop. They are a year apart. My 2 younger kids are fighting nonstop. They're 18 months apart. Her kids, they don't fight nearly as much because they have a wider age gap. And so there's not as much to fight about because they are not sharing the same toys or doing the same things. They're in different stages of life. And so the age gap, I think, is the number one thing that will differentiate your transition from, say, 1 kid to 2 or 2 to 3 or whatever that might look like, because the age of a child makes all of the difference, as we know. And if you're out of toddlerhood, I think those transitions are a little bit smoother.